Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. We're coming back to Fire King Snake Eye. I wanted to experiment with this deck a little bit more because I hadn't really played it too much besides from my day one build, day one of the new pack, and I have definitely been noticing that as the first week, I guess now week and a half, almost 2 weeks of the new pack has definitely been shaping how this deck is built. I think one thing in particular that I was pretty eager to try out was the Ulcanix package with old Garunix, aka Fire King High Avatar Garunix. So after looking through a bunch of tournament results, not only for our latest This Week in Master Duel video, but also just in general, it's something I like to do, as well as laddering, I'm just noticing that it seems like the majority of Fire King Snake Eye builds are on the Ulcanix package. So the reason that you would want to play these cards is that they offer additional combo lines that you might need if you're not opening your Snake Eye stuff as consistently, which of course you will be doing with Ash and Wanted both being at 1. The idea with Ulcanix is that if you have her plus any other fire monster in your hand, you can go into a line where, for example, if you have Ash Blossom, you could normal Ulcanix, pop the Ash Blossom in hand to add the Ponix. Ponix is special by its own effect, which will then let you search the Sanctuary for the Island. Island to pop the Ponix, that will let you add new Garunix. You don't pop the Ponix, you pop the Ulcanix to add new Garunix. This will trigger both new Garunix and Ulcanix's effects. New Garunix will summon itself, and then Ulcanix will summon old Garunix. You can then use the new Garunix to send Kiran, Kiran to pull the Ulcanix out of the graveyard, and then from there you have 4 bodies on the board. It's pretty easy to climb up into Princess, then Ambler Whale. And of course you can even go into Sunlight Wolf along the way, potentially add back your Kiran or the IP as well. You could do that if you wanted to set that up in the graveyard for future Snake Eye plays. So while Ulcanix is not like a full combo by herself, right? Again, while you do set up the Princess into Ambler Whale, you don't really necessarily get to set up the full Snake Eye stuff, like Flamberge, pulling out IP and then going into that. But I still think that the Fire King line that Ulcanix sets up is pretty formidable, and I think that being able to do this is what sets Fire King apart, Fire King Snake Eye that is, from pure Snake Eye. I know I said at the beginning of this pack release that I was like, oh, is Fire King Snake Eye going to even be the best way to play it? Pure Snake Eye might just still be the best deck. No, I think that Fire King Snake Eye is definitely noticeably better than Pure Snake Eye, again, just for having more things to do in the deck. And I do think that it is the best deck of the current meta. I think that Tier 1, in my opinion, right now, is Fire King Snake Eye at the top of Tier 1, so again, being the best deck in the meta, with Rescue Ace behind it, and then I would put Pure Snake Eye even behind Rescue Ace. Really, when you just compare the two, like, Pure Snake Eye has, like, so much less going on that it really does feel like that Fire King is still better. Now, of course, Pure Snake Eye is still a very, very good deck. If it's not Tier 1, it's a top Tier 2 deck. But we might live in a world where Pure Snake Eye is no longer a Tier 1 deck anymore. But yeah, let's see. Any other changes that I made? I put in Duel Little Chimera, but I think I need to look for more opportunities to use it because I didn't find myself really summoning it at all yet. If this card is blown up by one of your Fire King stuff, you can wheel any fire monster from your grave back to hand, which could be Kiran, it could be any number of things though, like maybe even a Snake Eye Ash for follow-up plays. So Duel Little Chimera. Also, the attack buff could very easily matter for lethal on some board states. So Duel Little Chimera is a card I just want to give more of a shot. I haven't found myself summoning it yet, but I do think it is potentially worth it. Oh, also, 2 Promethean Princesses. I've had people ask me, like, do you really have to play 2? No, certainly not at all. You can definitely get away with one. However, I have had quite a few situations where the second one has been extremely good, not just for like stuff like Cashier Unicorn, but also for grind games. And believe me, we have a duel coming up here in this video that is going to be quite the grind game. It is a game that we played live on stream. It is a 40-minute, 9-turn mirror match that we had on Ranked Ladder. If you want to see that game live, you can feel free to check out the VOD either on my Twitch channel or on my second YouTube channel, where Twitch VODs go once they've expired on Twitch. You can find both of those linked in the description below. But yeah, I highly recommend not only watching the replay here that's going to come up, but definitely checking the live version of that game, because you'll see we almost surrendered. Like, I brought up the menu to hit the surrender button, but I was like, no, I want to play this out. Anyway, we'll get to that game when we get to it. Let's see, other changes about the build. Oh, not on Temple of the Snake Eye anymore. I was in my first build, but I was like, you really don't need it for the majority of plays. Also did craft and put in a third Kieran. You can get away with 2, but after playing with those 2 and seeing how good it is to be able to dodge stuff by opening this card, like stuff like Valor and Imperm, it's like, yeah, we definitely just want 3, so, again, if you only have 2, you can definitely play with that, that's fine. But I think the third copy is pretty much optimal, so. Okay, I think that covers just about everything I have to say about the build. So, let's break the list down card by card, and then we'll start looking at some of those games. We are on 2 Effect Valor, 1 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Snake Eye Oak, 1 Legendary Fire King Ponix, 2 Snake Eyes Poplar, 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Fire King Avatar Arvata, 2 Fire King Courtier Ulcanix, 3 Diabellstar the Black Witch, 1 Fire King High Avatar Garunix, 1 Snake Eyes Flamber Dragon, 1 Sacred Fire King Garunix, 3 Fire King High Avatar Kieran, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Bonfire, 1 Original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, 1 Fire King Island, 1 Fire King Sanctuary, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Cross-Eye Designator, 1 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, 1 Fire King Skybird, and then 3 Infinite Impermanence, and that's going to be our main deck. For the extra, we got 1 Garunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings, 1 Linkriwa, 1 Duel Little Chimera, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Salmon Great Sunlight Wolf, 1 Heat of the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 SP Little Knight, 2 Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, 1 Amphibious Stormship Ambluwhale, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 World Sea Dragon Zealantis, and then 1 Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. That'll do it for our list. Let's see these duels. Okay, our first game is going to be a game against pure Snake Eye. I know I said before that, like, oh, I haven't hardly been seeing this deck on ladder, but I have encountered it a couple of times, and this was one of them. Looks like they're going to be taking the first turn here. We do have a Maxi, which is pretty nice, but not a lot else in the way of hand traps other than that. They're going to lead Diabell pitching Diabell. I'll wait on the Maxi until they actually activate Original Sin, which they're going to do right here. So we're going to chain the Maxi in response. I think they have an Ash Blossom in this game, if I recall correctly. They have a Cross Out. Okay, same difference. So effectively, we have no hand traps going into a full pure Snake Eye board, but we do have a lot of really good stuff in hand here as far as gas goes. We have pretty much everything you would want to see. The Fire King Sanctuary might be a bit unnecessary because via Ulcanix we can search it anyway. We do actually kind of want another fire monster in hand to pop with Ulcanix, but all in all this hand is definitely not bad at all. Okay, here they're going to grab Temple. Let's see what they place with Temple. It's Flamber! I knew it was going to happen, but you know, for a deck that I see people, not everyone to be fair, but like a lot of people on, you know, the usual places like the Twitter or the subreddit, I see people in places like that saying like, oh, Fire or Snake Eye is such an autopilot easy deck. You just do the same combo line every time. But in spite of that, I see people mess up Snake Eye lines all the time. Like, frankly, our opponent is currently messing up their Snake Eye line right now. Yeah, with the setup they have, they should have been able to go directly into the Oak with the Temple and then set up from there. I think just here they're trying really too hard to do a Synchro line. with the jet synchro. Because usually to do synchro stuff, you need Ash plus an extender, and here they only have the Ash. And yep, as you can see, I mean, their board is not bad. Like, they did end on the Baron plus IP, and like, yeah, they can pull Flambridge off of the Temple, but it's just still, I think, in my opinion, a bit of a sloppy way to have set this up. Again, this deck might seem like it's easy to play, but it's really, there are a lot of intricacies to it. And like, while, yes, you can set up boards like this, despite misplaying, that are serviceable, there's definitely a difference between a serviceable board and an optimal end board. And this is a serviceable end board, but certainly not an optimal one. Would we top deck Old Garunix? That's actually a horrible card to have drawn. I think that's actually literally the worst card we could have top decked, given that Olkanix only summons Old Garunix from the deck. Yeah, it's only from the deck in defense mode. But I guess if nothing else, we did get a fire monster to pop with Olkanix, so... oh yeah, no, here's another misplay the opponent's making. Why Little Knight right now? Like, why right this second? Why would you, like, I understand maybe not wanting me to have access to Fire King Island, but you still could have waited for me to, like, summon stuff and then gone IP into SP into banish to Fire King Island. This is another thing that I see all the time, actually, is that another way in which people misplay, I mean, is not using their end board correctly. I think it was in a stream I was actually talking about this recently, but I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players really, really severely undervalue the skill it takes to use your end board, right? Like, people will kind of say, like, oh, they set up a Snake Eye board, or oh, they set up a 3 negates, as if, like, that is enough to let that player automatically win. And furthermore, nobody ever talks about... I've never once in all my years playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Seen discussion about when should I be using the disruption on my end board. Nobody talks about that. Nobody values it as a skill. But when you're like my opponent here, who's just SPing the first chance they get and then Baroning the first thing after that, like, you're giving your opponent an opportunity to play out through your stuff. And I don't know, it's just something that I see, like, so little of. I see so little, not even just so little, I see literally zero discussion about how to properly use an end board. But no, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players would just rather assume that once an end board is set up, you automatically win, which could not be further from the truth, as I am going to demonstrate here. I mean, I unironically see people saying all the time, like, oh, yeah, if you're playing against Snake Eye and you don't open hand traps, if you quote-unquote lose the hand trap check, you should just automatically surrender and go to the next game. There's no point in playing the game out. And I think that statement, there's no point in playing the game out, is the one that kind of frustrates me, because, like, I feel like that is the basis on which a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players criticize the game on, but it's a flawed basis to criticize on, because they're not even getting the full experience, because they're surrendering before, instead of actually playing through difficult situations. It's like I've often said, like, you know, I don't know. I laugh because I don't want to sound condescending, but I don't think there's a way to not sound condescending about it. Like, these board states are not unplayable. You just have to try. And I'm not saying you can play through a fully set up board every single time, but, like, hell, try. Give your opponent the opportunity to misplay. Like, I don't know. Anyway, as you can see here, our opponent did manage to disrupt a lot of our stuff, but at the end we were still left with the Diabel setting Original Sin, which is enough to pull Snake Eye Ash, which is enough to go into a full combo here, and as you can see, swing in for lethal. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of situations in which my opponent could have gotten the better of me here by setting up a better turn 1 end board, and more importantly, by using their end board better than they did, which was, I don't think, well at all. Like, the other thing with the SP too is that they didn't even wait to summon their Flambridge off of Temple. They just linked it off right. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, so there's that game. The next duel, we'll talk about that here as we go into it, actually. Okay, so this is going to be the mirror match I was talking about earlier. This is a mirror match that, when played out in real life, took us 40 minutes, and it's going to be a Fire King Snake Eye mirror. Opponent's build is actually almost card for card the same as mine as well. The only difference is they are playing 1-for-1 and something else I can't remember off the top of my head. A third Ulcanix. They play 1-for-1 and a third Ulcanix instead of 2 Valor. So I play a little more Disruption, they play a little more Engine. I'm going to lead... Okay, so here with this hand, right, was kind of in a situation where I had to lead our Varta and Original Sin. Not ideal, but it will get us plays here. They have the Maxi, we have the Ash Blossom for that. Anyway, we special the Ash, go for Poplar. Poplar going to link it off for the Linkuriboh. Didn't have another search target for Poplar. Oh, that was the thing I meant to say during the profile. Subversion. I'm absolutely putting a Subversion in this deck because that happens so often where I would summon a Diabell or a Poplar and then just not have anything to search off of it because, or in the case of Diabell, like just wanted, right, and nothing else because I already used my Original Sin. But Subversion will not only be a good board breaking tool, but also, again, just having something else to search, I think is pretty valuable when it comes to Poplar and Diabell. Okay, here's Princess, bringing back the Flamberge. Flamberge will set up IP. Yeah, because we had to use Original Sin right at the beginning, I can't really go for a Fire King setup on turn 1 here. But I can do a pretty basic Snake Eye setup. So it's like, we got the Whale, we got the Flamberge, we got the IP, set a Called By with Kieran in hand. You know, not like the best board, but I'm definitely not, complaining about this one. Cross out on the Flamberge was very devastating. And I've seen people ask, like, isn't it bad to cross out Flamberge, especially if you only play one, because now you don't have access to it? And true, because this is a long game, that will actually kind of come back to bite my opponent a bit. However, I think if you're playing a Snake Eye Mirror, you should not be afraid to cross out Flamberge if your opponent already has one established, because it puts you so far ahead, and especially if you're on Fire King Snake Eye, but even if you're on regular Snake Eye, you don't actually need to use Flamberge's effects to win you the game on turn 2. It is criminally easy to OTK with the Snake Eye package, so yeah, I think cross out on Flamberge here was absolutely correct. Okay, they're leading with normal Poplar to grab the Original Sin. And then linking off to Linkuriboh. So their hand, it actually seems kind of similar to mine here, where they're not able to cleanly start with Ulcanix or Snake Eye Ash. They have to kind of set up the Original Sin, although they set up the Ponix rather than the Snake Eye Ash. Which I didn't really talk about it that much. I did kind of debate whether I wanted to summon Ponix or Ash, basically go for a Fire King setup or a Snake Eye setup. I just figured that if I could only do one or the other, the Snake Eye board would be a little bit better. But here again, because I've crossed that designator on exactly Flamberge, that ended up being pretty brutal. So did Call By on the Princess here. Actually, I will say, like, if our opponent had gone first, we might have been in a much worse spot. Their hand is phenomenal for going first here. Having Call By, Cross Out, and Poplar. Of course, they could have drawn one of those for turn, but... Alright, here I'm going to Call By on the Kieran, which is not ideal because it means I can't use the Kieran that's in my hand. But to be fair, it's not like I can really pop Flamberge and get summons for it anyway, so I'm fine just holding off on Kieran and not using it here. Oh, they have a Diabell as well! Oh my goodness, yeah, no, they had a lot here. Diabell set wanted. Now, thankfully, they can't battle over Ambloil here. New Grunix battling over Flamberge is kind of all that's going to be able to happen. Linking off Diabell and New Grunix. Oh, for Hita, that's right. Yeah, now they can use Hita to take my Snake Eye Ash and then go into their Snake Eye plays. Well, not really going into plays, I guess. They're just adding Oak for a follow-up turn. Alright, so we know they have Wanted face down, Oak in hand, one unknown card, and now SP Little Knight. And they banished the Original Sin in my yard, which I think was actually a pretty good call. Opponent definitely knows what they're doing, for sure. We top decked the Fire King Sanctuary, which is actually a really good top deck here. It is too bad that Kieran is still negated by Call By, but to be fair, I don't really have any Fire King stuff in the graveyard. Oh no, I have our Varta, that's right, so... we'll kind of miss out on that, but it's whatever. I'm going to battle over the Little Knight first, and oh, that's right, I decided to pop Ambloil and keep the Kieran in hand. I'm going to use Ambloil to take their Little Knight, however, I don't plan on using their Little Knight here. because if I use the effect, they're just going to get it back during the end phase, so... Oh, also, I remember this part of the game now. So, yeah, okay, we're going to add and then summon Ponix. Kieran is still negated, I know that, so... Ponix added the Skyburn. And then I said Skyburn and pass, which probably looks really weird. You're probably thinking, like, well, Lex, you have their Little Knight, why wouldn't you climb up to Princess and then keep going? My timer at this point was at, like, 10 seconds remaining, I think even less. So I didn't want to chance it and, like, time out. I decided to just end my turn here. Not ideal, certainly not ideal at all, but again, when you're low on the timer, there's only so much you can do. But again, we're going to be mindful to not activate this SP Little Knight. Don't activate it at all, because it's, remember, we stole it from our opponent, so if we banish it, it'll just go back to their field, and we definitely don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, they get to destroy my Skyburn here, and then search their own. Oh, and then they're going for the rank 8, that's right. I thought this was a little unnecessary, personally, but... yeah, they're making the rank 8 here. I get to protect my Fire King stuff with Skyburn. Oh, and then I made a misplay here. This, I think, was the biggest misplay I made of the game, was popping the Xyz monster with Ambler Whale. I just totally forgot about the effect to summon a Fire King monster for every material it had. So, yeah, my opponent gets an extra body on the board. But really, I mean, to be fair, like, obviously, yeah, I should not have given them the extra new Garunix on board. But, like, I don't know. The only other decent thing to pop here would be Sanctuary anyway, because remember the face down is wanted, so if I try to pop it, they'll just chain it. So, I mean, there wasn't a good pop anyway, in that regard. However, again, I should not have done it on the Xyz monster and then given them an extra body. That, again, that is a misplay on my part, but... I'm going to bring back the Linkery, though, here for the opponent's battle phase. This was actually the point in the duel where I almost surrendered. I literally opened the menu and hovered over the surrender button before I was like, no, I'm going to make them play it out, because I've been really addicted for a long time to not surrendering. And I have so many people tell me that, like, oh, it's not worth the time, there's no point to continuing to play. Also, hang on, I want to talk about this for a second. Old Garunix. I was able to bring that out. I was able to bring out Old Garunix off of the Olkinix. Olkinix. This is one thing about Fire King that I find kind of confusing, is that it feels like they all have like different, very slightly different triggers to activate their effects. For example, I didn't know that Olkinix summoned Old Garunix when destroyed by battle. I thought she had to be destroyed by card effect, like almost every other Fire King does, but no. She actually does summon Old Garunix, and if you're wondering why my opponent did not attack Old Garunix, it's because if it's destroyed by battle, then I get to summon a Fire King monster from my deck, and I do still have new Garunix in there. Okay, yeah, they're just gonna Phoenix away the face down, that's fine. What I get to do here now is I get to use my Fire King Island to destroy Old Garunix. Old Garunix, by its effect, will come back during the standby phase, and then when it does, destroy all other monsters on the field. Here, my opponent's going to Skyburn away the island, but it'll achieve the main result that I want, because when Island leaves the field, it'll destroy all my monsters, including, well, the only monster I have is Old Garunix, which, again, will trigger the effect to come back during my opponent's standby phase. Yeah, they can summon all the stuff they want to here, but yeah, no, it's like I was saying earlier, I have so many people who tell me it's pointless to play out long games like this, that, like, it's just a waste of time. And, I mean, like, I understand valuing time more than, like, playing out a game like this. Like, that's, you know, use your time however you want to. If you only have so much time in the day to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, I understand surrendering, you know, at any point the situation looks kind of dire, but... not only do, one, I enjoy playing this game, and that's how I like spending my time, but two, I play in tournaments. Like, I play at a competitive level, so I need to be able to practice playing in difficult situations, right? Because I'm not just going to surrender in a tournament when there's a difficult spot. I think it's more than just playing under a specific set of circumstances. I think there is a notion of keeping your cool and being able to play out situations like this without getting stressed out by stuff like the timer, which was pretty low the entire game from this point on, actually. I was pretty consistently playing under 100 seconds for the entirety of the remainder of this duel, pretty much, but, I don't know, yeah, it's just so dismissive whenever I advocate for, like, don't surrender, like, the game might go on long, but you can, you know, you can come back and win from seemingly impossible situations. People are like, again, just so pessimistic, like, there's no point to doing that. And it's like, I don't know, there is. even if you don't value it, again, that's fine, but... Yeah, so old Garunix here, coming in clutch. Not only does it summon a Fire King monster when destroyed by battle, this is not a once per turn effect, by the way. So we brought back old Garunix got destroyed, it brought out new Garunix. We were able to bring it back by sending the Kirin. It got destroyed again, and then it brought out Olkinix from the deck, so... Opponent's old Garunix is also now in rotation as well, definitely need to be mindful of that. Gonna summon the Diabel here by sending that IP that's been left in the spell trap zone forever. Now I'm going to link off the Diabel with the Olkinix to summon my Hita, the Fire Charmer Ablaze. But that will proc their Promethean Princess, unfortunately for me. However, this does proc my Hita effect, which will allow me to add a fire monster. Their Garunix gets activated as well. So that'll be coming back. And now Hita is going to add Kirin. Okay, their Garunix popping their Olkinix, they don't have that much stuff left in deck. Kirin popping my new Garunix, gonna move to battle over the Ponix, and then pass over to the opponent. The reason that I wanted to have Kirin on the field is because it's the standby phase, which means, well, Ponix will go back to hand, but also it means that, yep, their Garunix will trigger. Another thing to know about old Garunix, the effect to summon during the standby phase and then destroy all other monsters on the field when that happens, this is not optional. My opponent does not have a choice. Even though they have board advantage, they have to do this. And that is, again, why I brought out Kirin here in this situation, because I knew Garunix was coming back, I knew it was going to blow up the field, and then I knew that would trigger my Garunix, both my new Garunix and my Kirin, to activate. Here they're going to use the call by on my new Garunix, so that's definitely not ideal. But if nothing else, Kirin still activates. And Kirin will allow me to bring back old Garunix! And then I'm going to pop theirs as well. Alright, that's... Yep, their new Garunix activates, but they call by mine, so they don't get theirs either. They're going to wanted to add the Diabel back. And then just pass over to me. I'm a little surprised here that they didn't, like, send Sanctuary to summon Diabel. Even if they don't have anything to set, I just feel like having... the body, if nothing else, would be good here. Also, look at the number of cards left in our deck. 13, 17. Alright, I'm going to max C here because I know their old Garunix is coming back. And I'm very glad I did, because we cycled into a bonfire. Going to use the wanted effect to shuffle back Original Sin and get another draw. But I didn't even need the draw at this point here, because here's what I can do. Bonfire for Poplar, special the Poplar off its own effect, add the Original Sin, although that's not going to come up here. Linkuriboh, sack off Poplar to summon back Linkuriboh. Now Poplar can put Flamberge in the spell trap, send Flamberge in the spell trap for Diabel. Flamberge summons back the Oak and the Ash. Oak F to bring back another level 1 fire, just Ponix in this case. Alright, now I know they have a Promethean Princess in the yard. I do still need to kind of deal with that. But thankfully, they're going to activate it now when I summon Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. From here, I'm going to link my board into the remaining Promethean Princess. Very, very glad I played 2 at this point. Now I'm going to activate my Promethean to bring back the Flamberge. Flamberge is going to push their Promethean into the spell trap. And we are finally ready to swing in for lethal. Ugh. This, I gotta say, this was one of the most satisfying duels I've played in quite some time. I just, you know, it's the epitome of that, like, back and forth, constant exchange of, you know, resources and disruption, and, oh, so good. This is the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! That I live for. It's so good. Alright, we have one more duel to show off here, and then we're gonna finish off. And that final duel is going to be against Kashtira Horus Stun. Pretty typical Horus stun setup. It's just also playing unicorns and Fenrirs, and I think it is playing Theosis and stuff too, if I remember correctly. But anyway, we're going first here. Pretty good turn one hand. Opponent's going to shotgun Max C, which I I generally disagree with. Especially on a blind turn one, it's, I think, never right to shotgun Max C, draw our standby phase, but got the Bonfire for the Snake Eye Ash here, and we'll summon the Ash. Got the Kieran ready if they have Valor or Imperm, but it does not look like that they do. Just going to summon out the Poplar here. Poplar for the original Sin, and then link off for our Linkuriboh. And of course, Poplar will go back into the Spell and Trap Zone. From there, we're going to original Sin the Poplar way for our Ponix, is what we would do, except they do have an Ash Blossom here. So that's a yikes. Certainly not ideal, but we can definitely make do. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to Ash, send away Linkuriboh for the Flamberge. Now I can Kieran, pop the Flamberge to summon itself, Flamberge F to bring back Ash and Poplar. Now from here, I don't think there's a way for me to set up IP with Flamberge, right? Okay, so here I go for Hita, but if I had gone for IP instead, then I would link IP and Poplar for Princess. Princess, bring back Flamberge, and then Flamberge for IP in the Spell Trap, but I can't get Princess into the graveyard, which is a problem there. So the alternative is to Hita and take their Ash, and basically set up the Snake Eye board with everything except IP. So yeah, there wasn't really a clean way to do it here, I'm pretty sure. If there was, definitely let me know in the comments. I am not opposed to learning things that I have maybe missed, but yeah, I'm pretty sure in this situation I need at least one extra body to be able to set up Ambluel, Flamberge, and IP. Otherwise it would be Princess, Flamberge, and IP, which again, I wouldn't be able to really do anything with the IP in that case, because Princess is still in play. So I'll just play Snake Eye Ash in the Spell Trap and I guess summon it at some point during my opponent's turn. I'm going to do it here before Unicorn comes down, just to not lose any of my extra deck unnecessarily. I'll just add Oak for follow-up plays. Okay, yeah, Unicorn, so they are on a whole Theosis package. Yeah, Unicorn for Theosis here. I'm going to pull out the Fenrir. I'm going to use my Princess now. I'm going to get rid of the Fenrir, because I really don't want to deal with that. And while I know I said I was just avoiding extra deck rips, I don't mind if they get one in. Like, I was mostly trying to avoid, like, unnecessary extra deck rips. So, okay, Unicorn, Scareclaw Cash coming down here. They're going to overlay for Big Eye. Big Eye F. I decided to Imperm here, but I was a little nervous that my opponent was just going to battle and then go into Zeus. Like, battle over Princess with Big Eye, and then yeah, just slap a Zeus on top of it, but they actually did not do that, which was a little surprising. Last cards are Imseti, both. So Imseti, pitch Imseti, add King Sark, draw a card. Let's say they're going to King Sark, pitch a Called By to send a Hoppy. Here's Imseti, here's Hoppy, and then, let's see, they're going to overlay. I can't nib here because of the Promethean Princess, otherwise I would have when they summoned their Horus stuff, but okay, Zombie Vampire is actually not that great for them. They have to bring back Cobalt Eagle and put it back in the deck with its own effect to be able to use the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation here, which again, that's pretty good for me. It does give them a couple more cards to send off of King Sark though, so they can send to the two remaining Horus monsters, the Dumatef and the Kabesnif, which are now getting summoned. And those are going to get overlaid for, let's see. Oh, they go for the Garunix Eternity here, which was kind of surprising, but definitely not that big of a deal, because now I can Chainlink one Ambluel, Chainlink 2 Flamberge, and now I can Chainlink 3 Nib. I could have just brought back Promethean Princess with Ambluel. I should have done that instead of Hita. I don't know why I did Hita, but yep. And then they're just going to concede here. But, yeah, we nib their board, and then we get basically our entire board right back, which is so very typical of Snake Eye, isn't it? But, yeah, I actually had a lot more fun playing this version than I did the last one, and just more fun in general than I thought I would playing Fire King Snake Eye. I think, after doing a little bit of experimenting, that the Ulcanix package is very much worth it. if you don't want to craft the UR for the Fire King High Avatar Gruinix, you don't have to play this package. I have certainly seen quite a few builds doing well both on ladder and in tournaments without it, but I do think that this is ultimately going to be, I'll say preferred. I was going to say optimal, but I really do think that Fire King Snake Eye without Ulcanix is still completely fine. You know what it's comparable to? It's kind of comparable to pure Snake Eye versus pure Snake Eye with the cache engine, right? Like how before the limits, those were both kind of tied for the best deck. Like there wasn't a clear best one between those two. I'm willing to say the same thing between Fire King with or without the Ulcanix package. I think you could do it either way. I personally, however, do think that the Ulcanix package is worth it and better than playing without it. Personally, that's my opinion. So that'll do it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.